So I think this thing is on. Give it a moment. If anybody joins this great broadcast. So I do think this thing is on. We'll see if anybody joins this great broadcast. We have a few minutes before we get started with our first Casual Fridays. Behind me, you'll see some of my favorite things. We'll go through this here in a second. My guest, the Sheltons, will be joining in just one moment. Hi, I'm LP, also known as Breon. Black Men Buy Houses just joined. We'll be having this conversation here in a second. Let me bring my brother Kevin in before we get started. All right, I think Kevin should be joining me here shortly, if I did this right. Okay. Oh, now you in the car. Come on. you in the car. So what's going on, brother?
What's up? What's up?
Just letting people filter in the room. I got it started a little early because I wanted to make sure I knew how to work the technology. I'm supposed to be running a studio also, but I don't know how to go live a lot on Instagram at all. So this is a new experience for me, but we gonna make it work. We gonna make it work.
You got a filter on here? I look better than I
Absolutely
normally
not. I have great lighting because I'm in a studio. Don't try to
I'm
filter
talking
me.
about on my camera.
Nah, absolutely not. No, we just got great skin. You know what I'm saying? This is what stress does to you. This is what stress does to you.
But no. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me in our series, the Casual Fridays. I was also telling people behind me. Give me a
Hold on,
second. Okay, I
I'm
got some of my
frozen.
favorite things behind me. McDonald's, Tiger Woods, Lil Wayne. So just some of my favorite things are behind me. People often ask when they come in here what I'm doing, and they'll let you know that this is what I'm on right now. So, how you doing, though, brother? Where you coming from? You in the car? You supposed to be in the office right now, ready for this casual Friday conversation.
I should be very much in the office, but in the days of an entrepreneur, my day varies. So my morning got turned around and I ended up somewhere else and I had to run to a site and do some things. So now I'm in the car,
So,
parked,
so
safe.
introduce yourself real quick to everybody, and then we'll do an introduction about what Casual Fridays will be. Again, these will be nice and tidy, 15 minutes. Kevin and I don't have a lot of time, but we want to make sure we get some information out and just continue down this path of what we've got going for 2026. So, brother Kevin, I'll turn it over to you first.
No, so I appreciate that. I think Casual Fridays is really just the opportunity not only to get to know the people behind Black Men Buy Houses, but to ask any questions that people might have throughout the time. It's between events, so as we gear up for Black Men Buy Houses 26, and we're looking at the landscape of the country and the economy and housing, there's so many questions that people may have, and you shouldn't have to wait till a Black Men Buy Houses event to ask your question, right? And also to reach folks around the country, Black men who are in various parts or just people in general who might have a question about housing or cool stuff or anything, and we could talk about it on these Casual Friday conversations. So
Now that's perfect. And I've talked about you and Aisha a lot. Matter of fact, I did an interview maybe 2, 3 days ago. Some clips went out about Black Men Buy Houses. So maybe a formal introduction to you, your wife, what Park Street Homes is, all of those details, and then we'll jump in.
for sure. So I'm Kevin Shelton, one half of the Sheltons and all the things that we do. So Park Street Homes, Black Men Buy Houses, and all the many things that we've done over the years. And for us, we really focus on the entire housing ecosystem, right? So creating home ownership opportunities through development, which is what we do with our home building company, Park Street Homes. We do that in Houston and in Birmingham, and we're looking at other markets across the country to expand into. And then also through our national initiative, Black Men Buy Houses, which Brianna is a lovely part of and anchor in. And what Black Men Buy Houses is really about is creating not only that bridge of knowledge for home ownership for Black men specifically, but to create a safe space for Black men to be able to have conversations that we normally don't have about housing or some of the things that we need to take advantage of this wealth vehicle called real estate, because it is one of the dominant things that is creating um, not only wealth but creating generational wealth for the future in the country and across the world. But also, it's one of the tools that you use to anchor your family and stabilize your income and your housing expense and so many other ancillary benefits from owning real estate that come from just buying that first house.
No, no, absolutely. And one of the things that I wanted to jump in today as we start this is people will hear so many things in the news, on the media about why you shouldn't purchase a home. Like the majority of the conversations that you hear in public spaces are driving people away from home purchases. And sometimes I feel like that's intentional because the fast money cycle would tell you that owning a home is counter to that, not realizing the benefits that you get on the long term, not only what that home can do for you in one term, but also what it can do for your family in the next moving forward. What you'll see online is get money fast, don't do this, go out and get your 10 rental properties and put them out here and there, but they really don't talk about the anchoring piece of what a home can do. So Black Men Buy Houses definitely speaks to that, definitely speaks to what the role men have in their communities, the role we have as units in our communities, and we really want to have that conversation today. So in your world, rent. Why should people consider rent is a great option for people. I think it's hey, having a home nowadays, the way the market is, being able to have a place to lay your head, the way the economy is going, is a positive thing. But if you have the option or the ability to get in a program or a system where you can go towards purchase, why is that more advantage than a rental property?
So let me first say 99% of the people who are saying don't buy a house are in two buckets. The
Okay.
first bucket, people who own their own home and additional real estate, are people who will never have the ability to. So
Yeah.
it's like they're giving you advice that either they can't take or they don't take, right? And I remember there was a big controversy about Grant Cardone saying don't buy a house, and then Grant Cardone owns a lot of real estate.
A
So
thousand, a thousand properties. Yeah. Yeah.
so it's really funny that that's the thing. And I would say to black men specifically, what we don't see is that it's different for us than everybody else, right? And not that I want to single us out, but I do want to single us out, because I'll tell you, every other culture in the country has benefited from owning real estate historically, and black people have as well, but the proportions are much smaller. So what's the first thing we did after slavery? Was we started businesses and we bought property, because we knew that if we owned those two things, a business and a property, we could own our means of production. We could also own our own economic stability. And that's the hardest thing for people to take away from you in the event of an uprising or an uproar, is if you have a business or if you own property, because the American system was built on business ownership and property ownership, right? And they don't really tell you that. So if you're renting, you're participating in the system really from a passenger perspective, right? You're building wealth for someone else. You're paying an infinite amount of interest on whatever that amount of capital is you invest every month, and that money is lost. There's no tax benefits, there's no long-term benefits, and every year your rent goes up, right? Because as a good landlord like I am, I'm raising your rent every year
Absolutely.
because my bills
Absolutely.
go up. So I need to raise your rent. And the reality of the situation is people don't see that you can stop this train by controlling your own train car, right? So by owning your means of production, by owning where you live, you can then now participate on a different level, because you can always rent it out. You can become the landlord that then is renting to the other person and participate in the system. And then you could go, rent somebody else's property if you want to. So I'm not saying renting is bad. I'm saying renting is not the full story. It's not
Yeah.
the full picture.
Yeah, what I've told people too, especially as I've recently launched my own advising firm had been working for another firm for about the last 10 years, one of the conversations that you just led into is that the tax code is specifically set up for business owners and property owners. Now, that could have been by design, you know,
Yeah.
because if you consider the initial ways that the Constitution and things like that were set up, it was to allow voting people were property owners.
Hmm.
And you got to consider we were considered property at one point as well. And then also the tax code of being able to have deductions and benefits and things that benefit you in comparison to a W 2. We're not saying either of those is bad. We're just saying you got to be able to play the system the way the system is made to be played. And a part of that is home ownership as well as maybe some potential business write offs also.
One of the funny things about what you just said about voting rights, right? Um, so when black people were freed from slavery, it wasn't naturally assumed that we couldn't vote.
Yeah.
They changed the rules. So they
Yep.
literally changed the rules and separated it from property ownership because as we bought more property and we started voting, they were like, we can't have these black folks
Yeah.
voting. So we need to separate this. So that's when they started separating it actually by race, right? And saying, okay, if you're a black person, you're 3/5 of a person, blah, 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 blah. And then your citizenry became your ability to vote versus property ownership being your ability to vote. Because there were towns where black people owned a bunch of property and
Yeah.
were voting people in office, right? Like there was a whole round of Congress people who were, black that they had to change the whole system to get those folks out of Congress. So if you go back in history and look at the power of what ownership means, it's a much bigger picture than people are thinking about. People thinking about it like, man, my rent $1,500 and my mortgage will be $2,000, but you're not thinking about what comes with that additional $500 that you be paying. And yeah, you might be paying $1,500 a month in rent, but you get no tax benefits. You
Yep.
get no long-term appreciation, and you're really throwing your money away. You're paying people like me, um, and we get the benefit of it, and we get to write off the interest that we're
Yeah.
paying, and we get to do the other things that we're doing. So,
Yeah, and the way I look at it, like, so the theme of this conversation or the theme of the week, and we'll do this programmatic over the time. Like, we'll have something to share with you all. So the few people that'll join, that'll be more as we get in because we plan to have this as more of a consistent conversation. But the reason why we said beyond the rent cycle, because rent is a cycle, just like Kevin was alluding to, it doesn't stop. Like, you end up in one space, they'll start adding. Oh man, well, my price went up. Guess where that fee is going to get passed on to? You as the
yeah,
renter. There are things that you can control more when you're a homeowner, and again, speaking specifically to black men, oftentimes we're pulled out of that conversation altogether. Like by the time some of that information gets to us, we're later in our years, sometimes being our first time home buyer, and we've lost a lot of our economic power in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s before we've even considered being a part of the purchasing cycle. So, what tip would you give someone today if they're considering getting beyond the rent? Obviously, we'll have some resources and some tools for them. Be looking for a blog that'll come out of this conversation also after we get off the call today. But what are some of the tools that you might give a few people if they're saying, "Hey, I want to start. What's a way that I can get started potentially looking at purchasing a home?"
so the first step is knowing where you are, right? Knowing what your credit is, knowing what cash you have available potentially for down payment, knowing what programs are available in your local market that could help you. We've seen people get hundreds of thousands of dollars towards a home purchase just by literally filling out applications or sitting in a class. I'll share a quick story about a black woman who bought one of our affordable homes. She got $150,000 from the city of Houston to purchase a $230,000 home that was already subsidized, right? So her mortgage now, brand new house, is $800 a month. And
Wow.
that's in 2025, right? She bought that house in 2025. So to say the money's not there or the resources not there is not true. So the first step is seeing where you are. The second step is really being honest with yourself about what you need, right? So if you know I need at least 2 bedrooms, I got 2 kids, I got whatever, then being very honest about where you need to be to afford that, right? You are not going to be in the Galleria
And Kevin, you just muted on me. I can't hear you. Okay, it's coming back now.
Yeah, it was somebody called me. Sorry.
Okay.
You're not going to be in the Galleria area with a 3-story luxury townhome or in a condo and be able to buy that. That's why you can't afford it, right? You might have to get that 3-bedroom house that's a little bungalow in the hood.
Yeah.
And that has to be okay too, because it's a starting place. So we got to really be real about what we need, right? What we need in a payment, what we need in space, and what we need in reality. I was going to say reality because a lot of times black men, we need a reality check.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I would say that to add to that, that financial advice is not a problem. Like you should actually go talk to someone. To Kevin's point, I think sometimes people think that you have to be a homeowner or to engage with like a Park Street or to engage with like my firm, that you have to have all this money to be able to sit down with someone to help you. Really, it's creating a plan and
Yep.
making sure that that plan, you're working that plan to be able to reach that ultimate goal that you would like to do. People go to trainers, people go to dietitians, there's a variety of things that people put plans together for, but for whatever reason, at least in our community, I've seen finances is something that we will not do a plan. We just be like,
No,
oh well, I'm gonna just see
I
fly by night with
disagree.
it. Not
I
all the
disagree.
time.
Well, no. I disagree. We're just planning the wrong things, right? Because we're
Okay.
going to buy a course on the internet. We're going to pay the person to teach us to do Amazon. We're going
Yeah.
to pay, we're going to go to the stock trader people. I remember during COVID, what was it, Forex? I see
Yeah.
people
For
pay
oh, that was
thousands
going crazy.
of dollars
Yeah.
in Forex. It didn't make no money. And you don't hear none of these. Where are all these Forex people? Where are the Bentleys?
They're on the
Like in
islands. They're clearly
2026,
on the islands right now.
where are the Bentleys? So, I would say it's not that we don't have the money or that we don't have the ability to plan it. We don't prioritize the importance of home ownership specifically,
Yeah,
right? So we want to get rich quickly, and we don't realize that we're getting poor quickly because we're falling victim to all these BS things that we see on the internet that look like you're going to hustle up wealth. And
yeah,
that's not how wealth works.
yeah. Wealth takes time. The one thing that I would say that wealth takes time, and wealth doesn't require a lot of you, you know, going to all these different spaces. There is a system that people have done over time that has helped people generate wealth, and I think sometimes there's a lot of, we all have a level of risk that we will be willing to do. So some people, to your point, hey, I'm gonna throw it all at this course, and if this course works, then I'm good. And then some people will say, I'm never gonna do anything other than sit on the sidelines because I'm comfortable there. And there's fine. There's a middle ground with that. But I would definitely say that, to your point, yeah, we probably are planning the wrong things versus really sitting down and structuring a plan. So, yeah, so our first casual Friday is in the books. These will be nice and tidy. 15 minutes. Kevin, how you feeling?
I love it. I love it. I think it's a great ability to not only speak on some of the things that are hot topics today, but also really open up the space for people to ask questions and things like that. And y'all DM us, shoot us questions. BMBH, Black Men Buy Houses page, LP's page, my page. We want to know what you want to talk about, and we want
Yeah.
to know what the questions you guys have.
And I got a question, but I didn't gonna go back into my DM to get it. So maybe I'll put that in the blog from this conversation from today. But this is LP. I got Kevin with me. We appreciate y'all joining us. We'll be back next Friday. You never know who the guest will be. I might have to bring Kevin back on so we can continue this conversation. But we appreciate y'all joining Casual Fridays. We'll see y'all next week.